Let's start our live stream. It's an extra live stream, so it's not scheduled for Wednesdays. We're still in Aix, in Provence. From 2026. Title of today's live stream, right? Extra. Drex CBDC Retail and Drex Citizen. We're going to try to apply a cognitive model of how to understand things, how to live your life. But we'll use this title, okay? Our cognitive model is based on something I created. It's based on the Atlantic Forest, Umbu, and Joinville. Look, Atlantic Forest means innocence. It means that the paths you take in your head over time will close if you allow it. Umbu means your automatism, very close to what Daniel Kahneman. He was talking about thinking fast, the automatic thinking, the things you do, the thoughts that come to you, and the actions you take in an automatic way. Umbu is that. And Umbu is a civilization that lived here in southern South America 10,000 years ago. It's a very ancient population that lived and made that quartz spearhead. It was an automatic thinking, a religiosity, a sacredness different from ours. Unlike our technological resources, they lived with other technological resources and abstractions of them. Joinville is the name of a city I like very much, but it represents the structures or systems. The order, the knowledge of our ancestors passed down to us through technologies, computers, airplanes, informatics. This whole process is a process of order, of system. So we are going to analyze these themes now: peaks, Drex, retail CBDC, and citizen Drex through a technical model. Because I created the Mata Atlantica, Umbu, and Joinville model, or let's change the difference, change the terms a little. It could be innocence, which is much better, a fast automation, and the structure, the system. You can have innocence in the Mata Atlantica. You have the coming and going that the forest itself tells you about. And in your personal life, look, when you're in a place and information comes to you, you perceive things in a real way. In a real way, not through screens, not the way you're perceiving this video now that has reached you through screens. No. In a real way, you feel the environment in all its dimensions. By feeling this environment, you build a representation within yourself. By feeling this environment, it directs you to go in that direction. But something very powerful also happens in your head. Awareness of what you are perceiving occurs. Jackson, you spoke of consciousness, but what exactly is consciousness? No one defines consciousness. Do I define consciousness? And am I conscious of my definition of consciousness? Consciousness is something simple to understand. It's a metabolism that is perceived to be, no, it's a movement that is perceived to be in the metabolism produced within a body territory in relation to human consciousness. A human body territory. What does that mean? It means that every time you throughout your life have perceived and stored information within your body territory, that information has a certain space. Every time you become aware, it stores these spaces within your body's territory. And this information, these spaces, you activate to perceive. So these spaces of your past memories, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years. What did you learn? Semantic memory, episodes, the whole process. Implicit and explicit learning. Everything you are, everything you've learned, your metabolism, your DNA has a certain structure within you. This structure, when you signal it, when you activate certain brain spaces, it is prepared to perceive. You will perceive things according to what you activate in your body territory. You don't perceive things if certain spaces within you aren't activated. To explain it more simply, when you go to church, you prepare a whole ritual and activate certain brain spaces, certain spaces in this body territory related to the religious ritual. When you go to school or work, you activate various rituals. And to activate these activated spaces glow, they have a glow, they shine. This movement wasn't activated, it disappeared, it activated. Oops, this space activated. I need to study something else. I have a test tomorrow. Oops, this space is activated. The book is over there. It's here. So with these two spaces activated, they interact within your body and territory. This interaction gives you awareness. I return to my definition. What is awareness? It's a movement that one perceives to be. Movement of whom? Of this memory you have, with this memory you have, with this memory too. Shine, fade, return, create awareness. Awareness is a movement that one perceives to be the movement of your semantic memories, episodic experiences, learnings. The movement of your own DNA, your body, your blood, your heartbeat. These movements are perceived as being produced by metabolism the moment you perceive yourself through what you produced yesterday, or today, what is being produced there. You perceive yourself based on that. You perceive yourself based on something that is moving. If everything stops, consciousness ends. So consciousness needs a body, a territory, human consciousness, the consciousness of other levels of consciousness, of software. The hell with it. These are non-human consciousnesses. It has to do with AI. It has to do with other things. That's not consciousness, right? It's an intelligence recruited with a system of logical reasoning and all that stuff. Much more a rational and logical neurosis. Now, human consciousness is different. Human consciousness perceives what you or your body has already activated, okay? Now we're going to go back to how I'm going to analyze PIX, Drex, retail CBDC, and citizen Drex through this little model. Atlantic forest, innocence, transcendence. You let Jivaza, you feel the collectives move in what is real, that you feel your body being carried. It's not by screens, it's not by narratives. This changes everything in your life. It even reminds me of something my brother said. Jackson, enough of being carried away by narratives. I want the materiality of concrete things. It's not the hearsay about what happened and what will happen that will change my mind in the area he's thinking about, in the area of music he's thinking about. But normally we live in narratives because we live within a city. That's why there's Julie Joinville. The city is a structure, the city is a mechanism, the city is technology, the city or the village or the community you're in. It's all the technology that structure, that body of territory managed to maintain or pass on. And here lies a very serious problem. This technology, this structure, this city made you a citizen of the city. Does that mean that the city, whoever controls the city structure, shapes your consciousness? Yes, that's where we are. You are. You are a product of the system. You are part of the system. And all your inner self, all your automatic sacred things, your way of being, the consciousness that comes within you is part of the street you walk on, the school you attended, the fundamental teachings you received, whether religious or not, the health care you received from the health center you went to. All of this structure creates a system within you. You are the system. It's difficult for people sometimes to understand that they are part of the system, and sometimes they fight against the system, but they are part of the systems. The person is the unit of the state. The person is a body territory, the smallest part of a state. And when you are a system, you say, I am the system. This information, this way, this communication, this way, this city moves, this community moves, created my way of thinking, created my automatism, my sacred umbu that I speak of. We know very little about them as civilization from 10,000 years ago in the American territory, in the south of South America, in that southern part. But they made quartz spearheads in an automatic way, in a sacred way, where the body felt and moved and created things. That's fantastic. We also automatically do some reasoning, some thoughts, some ways of being. And in fact, you are being without metacognition. You are being part of the system, including a system that instills in you the desire to attack the system. The system doesn't need to be attacked because there will always be a system in any community you go to. The system needs to be rebuilt, changed, structured, modulated, adjusted, or improved. I'm not going to talk about 100 or 200 CPF numbers, Brazilian individual taxpayer registration numbers. I'm going to talk about the number that makes it much easier to identify our super rich, 300. The 300. There's that movie, The 300. We'll round it off as it is. The 300. Who are the richest people in Brazil? These 300 CPF numbers. Who are the richest people in Brazil? Who are they? Look them up. Give me a list of the 300 richest people in Brazil. CPF numbers, not companies, CPF numbers. These individuals, these 300 richest people in Brazil, control the state, control the structure, and are earning close to R1 trillion a year in interest from our system. And they say, but that's already priced in. It's a lie. Now we return to analyzing PIX, Trex, retail CBDC, and citizen Trex. The 300 richest people in Brazil, the CPF holders, the 300 richest CPF holders in Brazil hate PIX because PIX allows financial transactions that can be traced. The richest transfer money from here to there and don't want to be dragged along. Money laundering is normal for them. It's a flow of money. This state only wants to rob me, but it wants to privatize the state in what the state profits from. And you are part of the system because these 300 richest people control the means of communication. These 300 richest people, in some way, also seek out big tags, information, and social networks, and control what information reaches you. You become the system because the information you receive, you have the perception and the spaces of it. And it is in these spaces that all consciousness emanates. So, what you need to know, and it's very important, is that in this cognitive concept of the Atlantic forest, Umbu and Joinville, the Atlantic forest represents innocence. The innocence of perceiving things and suddenly saying, whoa, this came from a screen, this came from a narrative, this isn't real. And I will perceive and engage with the real, the concrete reality of things, of the people who come close to me, of the volumes that approach and move away from me, of the spaces that I perceive within myself, but not about the narratives that the system has placed within me. Because the system wants me to be a mini system. And this system is hijacked by the three errors. That's the idea. And who enters as Umbu? Ombu is sacred automatism. Evidently, Umbu culture is something much greater than we think it is. But I'm applying this Umbu culture in a way that also affects your automatic behaviors in life, and there's something very strong that's inherent in the social system today. Today, unlike 50, 100, or 200 years ago, money has become a part of people's character. The pursuit of money has become the very essence of their lives. It's frightening. People want to be through buying. They want to buy in order to be, and to be through buying. And sometimes they buy in order to be, but they get lost in those clothes, those shoes, that trip, that food, that car, that house. They get lost because you become focused on buying, on consuming. Consuming what? What the 300 produce. Look how interesting. So Jackson, how do we analyze PIX? Look, PIX is part of Brazil's national sovereignty. It has enough information technology to transact money within the national territory without costs. This greatly displeases governments where credit card companies operate and lose a lot of money because there many commissions are involved in these transactions. So we are transacting money, a value, without cost. Okay. This money is still a very serious problem because it's created through debt. The money we circulate digitally today is basically created through funds and debts in a huge mess that the 300, referring to a specific group of banks, likely Banco Mastercard, Banco do Dimacedo, and many others, know very well and leverage very effectively. Mastercard, Banco do Dimacedo, and a bunch of other banks, okay? They leverage and launder the money through PICs. I have relatives and friends who were against PICs because some congressmen said that PICs would do this. The PICs, man, Drex, instead of this digital money circulating uncontrolled in the hands of these 300 people, here and there, IPCC, Commando Vermelho, and all that, which the 300 use very well to link things and always outside. The 300 richest CPF holders in the world are behind CMPJs, they're behind funds. Nobody would find them. But if you go there and someday find a way to get to the Federal Revenue Service and find out who the 300 richest CPF holders in Brazil are, you have the list of the 300. It's that list. This list hides behind CNPJ's funds and other things, all those things. This Drex movement aims to make the money that's circulating today digital. When you use a card, when you use PICs, that money is digital. It's not paper, it doesn't have a serial number. This money is traceable, but not very closely from its origin to its end. Drex will give it a number, an identification of when the money was created and how it transacted through all means, from its creation to its elimination, possibly at the central bank. The money is created, I can eliminate the money. So, Drex, the 300 hate. If the 300 hate, know that your representative will also hate because he represents the 300. He represents the system even while saying he's anti-system, even while speaking against the state. Because the state is held hostage by these guys, these 300. Retail CBDC, few people talk about it. Almost no one in my field talks about it. I work with researchers. They don't know what retail CBDC is. Retail CBDC is central bank digital current. It's money created in the central bank. The bank, the state, has the right to create credit without debit. This is retail CBDC. It's credit without debits. But hold on. With Drex, I can create credits without debits. And it has the origin of the money and the tracking of the money. The 300 don't want it. The 300 don't like it. So I use this Mata Atlantica, Umbu, and Joinville way of analyzing this. Mata Atlantica, the innocents. Why don't the 300 want it? Play innocent. Why don't they want it? Because they want to get richer. Yes, but they are using all the structures of the city of Joinville. Joinville is a way of speaking. All the city structures and media outlets on screens and in journalism and communication are designed to make you a replica of them, representing a microsystem that condemns the state because they want the state condemned, paying them the $300 trillion a year. Do you understand that sometimes you become a puppet of the 300, but before you get to the 300, you have presidents, ministers, deputies, senators, judges, prosecutors, lawyers. You have a lot of people just representing the system, just wanting to make money that is born from debt. It's not retail CBDC money that's born in debt. It's born in debt. It's an old, ancestral, outdated, finished paradigm. The system that's only serving to be born in debt, to plunder, to exploit, to monetize. And you're right there in the middle of it. No. The government has to do this, the state has to do that, and suddenly you're simply the system. And what is the system? What do the 300 richest people do? That's the system to me. You understand? What are the 300 richest people doing to leverage it? The money that flees to the fiscal wall, flees here, flees there. And in some tax havens now, companies with a CNPJ, Brazilian tax ID, will have the right to vote. Because there are more companies than citizens. Look where we're getting to. If your conscience doesn't change, if you don't improve, you're a cog in the system. It's that simple. So what is this traffic killer? Every time you receive information, real information, not narrative, not through screens or books. Here, the real information is about interacting with people. And in this real relationship, your body moves in terms of how you think and how you solve problems. When you think, you say, this thought is automatic. This thought is an incentive. Think fast, then you reach metacognition. Why am I thinking like this? Oh, was it because of my school? Was it because of my pastor? Was it because of someone? Was it because of my parents' house, my lawyer, my judgment? I'm thinking like this. Funny, this way of thinking is biased. Why am I thinking so automatically? Because my consciousness is already hijacked. Because some spaces within me, within my body and territory, are switching on and off. What repeats most and shines brightest, what blinks most inside your head that becomes accepted as truth. Some people think that's what truth is. Then I ask them, okay, how many times has this been repeated in your life? More than 10,000 times? More than 20,000 times? How many times have you noticed this? Because every perception makes a space in your brain light up. And that perception, that light in that space, remember, I'm talking about the body as territory. I divided it into 5 dimensions. The 3 dimensions, width, length, and height, because you represent a thought through neural networks, activities, frequencies, and in the body and all the body tension. So it's 3D. And what about the movement of this? A representation can appear, it can disappear in a memory, it can come to your mind, it can vanish. And what is it? Or I even call it Chapiri, the spirit of it, the brilliance of it. This information can flicker, it comes back. It comes back. So if I'm religious, I don't know. At breakfast, I say a prayer for breakfast or a meditation for breakfast. At lunchtime, another prayer, another meditation. At dinner, another prayer, another meditation. This information that comes and goes becomes a non-disposable truth, but it can be a false one. Stimulating a brain space that you have, or the system, the structure, our culture, our city. I call it the system. And the structures of Joinville, for example, are cities. Cities represent dawn, the cars that drive, the traffic lights, the things that happen repeat the same structure. By repeating the same structure, it creates a feeling of trust and truth. But if I go to a city like I am now here in Aix-en-Provence, the structure is a little different. It's not the same. Even so, talking to my partner, I told her, but I look at young people and their gestures, mannerisms, and clothes all seem the same. It seems like the 300 in Brazil have 300 in France, 300 everywhere, controlling consumption, which is increasingly international. The shoes are from this brand, the clothes are from this brand, the glasses are from this brand, the car is from this brand. So consumption becomes universal. The planet is in the hands of a few, and the masses of humanity are becoming aware of identifying with what they consume, not with who they really are. And that's the message I want to leave you with today, a cognitive process for you to understand. Atlantic Forest, Humbu, and the structure, the Joinville that I'm referring to. Atlantic Forest is your innocence, okay? Your transcendence. Since you were 1 or 2 years old, you know that way of being that's yours. You know it's yours, and you have all that transcendence. Then suddenly a thought comes, an attitude comes. You question with metacognition how the structure that I call Joinville, that I call this structure of norms, the rules of the state, made me create this thought, and metacognition occurs. Whoa! When I was 2 years old, I didn't have this mindset, but now I do, because now the value is money, and my character is shifting towards making money. You need to make money because the state is held hostage by those 300. You need to make money. But what if the state wasn't held hostage by those 300 richest people, the richest CPF holders? Then there would be retail CBDC to pay for retirement, to pay for severance pay. And even the richest could get richer because they wouldn't need to pay severance pay to employees. Because the state itself, with its retail CBDC, would provide credit without debit and drag the citizen, because the state belongs to the citizen. The state, the smallest unit of the state, is a citizen body. The citizen body is territory. And if it's a territory body, where is the state's income for that individual, for you, for me? Why does 1 trillion only go to those 300? Because the state is hijacked. Because those 300 have a means of communication, they have screens to speak to you through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever. They tell you that the state is bad and you believe you're a puppet of the hijacked system. It's not the system that helps you, it's the system that hijacks you. Then you enter transcendence, you enter the Atlantic Ocean. Whoa, hold on. This path I'm going, no. Then your consciousness starts to change a little, and when your consciousness changes, you gradually change parts of the system. You'll talk to your politician and the system will change through the politicians, okay? You'll talk to your politician, you'll put pressure on him, you'll talk about him, and you'll question your automatic behaviors. Like I once told a Buddhist friend of mine, she said, Jackson, do you know the definition of human karma? The constant return to being the same and reincarnating in various states? I told her human flesh is very simple, it's very easy, and there is no life after death. Human flesh is when your brain emits a thought and you believe in it. When you think, when you produce territory with your body, you produce a way of being in that moment for that situation. When you believe that it is a truth, that was simply a revelation in the reduction into words of a feeling of body territory. And if you believe in the reduction, your being returns, you reincarnate, you have the same consciousness in the same way. In a club, you fix that awareness, you lose flexibility, you cease to be innocent, you become a piece of the system that transmitted the data, the stimuli for you to have that awareness. Take care. This live stream was one among many because it was on my mind, and you will understand my way of thinking, which is precisely a way of thinking based on the Atlantic forest. On this Ombu culture, which we know very little about from 10,000 years ago, which was here in southern Brazil, in a part that extends a little into Argentina, but in the Atlantic forest. And Joinville wants a structure, the structures of the systems, which is important. But the system is hijacked by the 300, and you have to have an open mind to understand that, and that you are part of the system. And often you are just replicating the system through yourself. Have a good day, good night, good afternoon, until the next live stream.